there, those who haven't seen, these are the four graves of the Imams just there. Come here, come. Come film there. Go. Do you see the four graves? Just there.
لست حجي لا توقف يا حجي حجي بيسار تفضل حجي بيسار بيسار تفضل يا سعيد تفضل حجي امشي معاك انا تفضل حجي تفضل
The three, we said the adopted daughters, they're here. These are the three adopted daughters of the Prophet.
تفضل حجي لست حجي حجي معنا عربي تفضل
These are the wives of the Prophet.
The wives of the Prophet.
These are the wives of the Prophet. The wives, 9 wives are buried just here. Can you imagine? The 9 wives of the Prophet are buried here. Just here. We've got 2 important graves here coming up. One is called Aqil. Okay, here is Aqil, the brother of Imam Ali. And that one's the husband of Sayyida Zainab, Abdullah ibn Ja'far al-Tayyar. That one. That one's Abdullah ibn Ja'far al-Tayyar. And this is Aqil. Aqil, the brother of Imam Ali. The son of Abu Talib, this one. Just here.
Father Muslim.
This is Abdullah ibn Ja'far. Aqil ibn Abu Talib. So we're going to come round to this and we'll explain to you over there, but this is the grave of Ibrahim, the son of the Prophet. He died in his infancy. He was a child, an infant. He died in the year 10 after Hijrah. The Prophet was really saddened for his loss. So that's Ibrahim, the son of the Prophet. One of the obviously main people buried in Jannatul Baqi. Well, his mother is Maria the Copt, Maria the Coptia, Mary the Copt. We'll come back to the other side when we come back. This one over there is Imam Malik, the founder of the Maliki school of thought. He was fond of Medina and he died here and therefore he was buried there. That is a very important grave in Jannatul Baqi. And 95% of these people don't know who this grave is. That area, not just this, but this whole area is the graves of the Shuhada of Uhud, some of them. But more importantly, there was a devastating invasion of Medina that happened in the year 63 after Hijrah at the time of Yazid, known as the Battle of Harrah. And what happened in the Battle of Harrah is this. There was a man by the name of Hanzala. Hanzala was a companion of the Prophet and he was known as the one that the Malaika washed his body. You must have heard his story in the Majalis. Now Hanzala married his wife, and in the morning, the day after the night he married his wife, he rushed to fight with the Holy Prophet in one of the battles, and he hadn't done his ghusl. So when he was martyred, the Prophet said, I can see the angels washing his body. Therefore he was known as Hanzala, the one washed by the Malaika, Ghasilul Malaika. In that one night he had with his wife, his son was conceived. His name was Abdullah. He became a big scholar in Medina, to the extent that when he heard about Karbala, he was outraged, and he heard about Yazid and what Yazid has done. So he decided to visit Yazid in Damascus. He goes to Yazid. When he goes to Yazid, he sees Yazid's drunkenness. He sees Yazid's awful nature. Yazid's awful nature, and he then says, Allah will punish this community because of Yazid. So when he comes back to Medina, he decides to stage an uprising against Yazid. Comes here, stages an uprising, and kicks away the governor of Yazid in Medina. Thousands were killed. The mosque of the Prophet was desecrated. Dogs and donkeys and camels urinated on the grave of the Prophet, and so many Sahaba were killed. This is the evidence. Okay? This man, Abdullah ibn Hanbala, was then martyred, and Yazid's army, they desecrated Medina for 3 days, and then they went to Mecca, where they used catapults to destroy the Kaaba. So they violated Medina and Mecca's sacredness and sanctity, which was clearly something the Prophet, peace be upon him and his family, said, anyone who does so, Allah's la'na will be on them, and the malaika will do la'na on them, and so on. Today in the Muslim world, we have people who say radiyallahu anhu on Yazid, despite him killing Imam Hussein and obviously causing a massacre of Karbala, destroying Medina and Mecca. I don't know what else anyone needs to do to be considered an enemy of Islam. His grave here is Halima Sa'diyya, the wet nurse of the Holy Prophet. Great individual, beloved by Rasulullah. We believe she was a mu'mina, so she never worshipped an idol. She was somebody who worshipped Allah only because she then fed the Prophet. Nobody could feed the Prophet, from her milk, except that you are monotheist. Yes? Because the bones and the flesh of the Prophet cannot be from anyone who worships other than Allah. So she was somebody contrary to the reports that you hear sometimes on the minbar. Don't believe the stories you hear. Sometimes some of our zakireen, not ulama, zakireen get badly influenced by some weak narrations. I have seen it mentioned in the minbar that she came to Mecca. This is Halima here. She came to Mecca and she said, I want to take a child to breastfeed. And they said, all of them are gone, just Muhammad, who's the orphan there, left. She's like, okay, I'll just take him. And also, because they said the family was poor, so nobody wanted to take the Prophet. You've heard this story? You remember? Huh? Yeah? This is a terrible story. It's fabricated, wrong, no such thing. Actually, first of all, Abdul Muttalib was rich. Secondly, Halima, she came looking for the Prophet, because you see, the Prophet, even though he was an orphan, his father died when he was young, still there was a lot of barakah, and Halima was chosen to be the wet nurse of the Prophet. Why was there a wet nurse like Halima Sa'diyya? Halima Sa'diyya, because the Prophet and the other children needed to be taken out of Mecca, because Mecca was too much hustle and bustle. The environment wasn't good for raising the children, and therefore he stayed with her until he was about 4 years of age. And then he was returned to Amina bint Wahab radwanullahi ta'ala alayha. The Prophet stayed with his mother for 2 years, and then she died. Halima Sa'diyya was so beloved to the Prophet that later on, she came to Medina, the Prophet loved her, gave her some camels as gift. He would pray for her, and when she died during the time of the Prophet. He prayed on her body and buried her here. Can you imagine, the Prophet was just here? That's incredible, huh? Of course, we go to Ibrahim, the son of the Prophet, Imam Ali alayhi salam buried him. It seems that the Prophet was too saddened. Imam Ali buried him by the instruction of the Prophet. And alhamdulillah, due to Allah's blessings, that I completed a book in English. You can get it. 4 years of research called Baqi, Past, Present and Future. The only book in English available in the world today, detailed about Jannatul Baqi in color. Full maps, 3D maps, everything. His grave is of the great person whom we love and respect, called Uthman ibn Maz'un. Uthman ibn Maz'un was a companion of Amir al-Mu'mineen and the Holy Prophet. And Uthman ibn Maz'un was known for his asceticism in dua and salah, and he would be, very much praised by the Holy Prophet. He was the first from the Muhajirin who came to Medina to be buried in Baqi. This area was full of houses. The 4 graves of the Imams, you saw them at the beginning. That area was the house of Aqil. Aqil, you saw his grave?
Yeah.
He had a house there. and the Imams were buried in the house. So Baqi' was not like this. He was very small and it began to grow. And the graves used to be between the houses. But it was very normal at that time to bury people in houses. The Prophet was buried in his house. Imam al-Ridha in his house. Imam al-Hadi, Imam al-Askari in his house. It was very normal to be buried in the houses. Uthman ibn Mad'un died in the second year after Hijrah. And he was buried here by the Holy Prophet. We put a stone on him, on this grave, and marked it as the grave of Uthman ibn Mad'un. Outstanding personality, whom Amir al-Mu'mineen praises in Nahjul Balagh and says, I had a friend who I lost. كان لي صديقا في الله, he says. He's the reason why Imam Ali named one of his sons Uthman. As you can see, there's a funeral procession going on. They're burying someone right at the end there. These graves. This grave here is very important also. Graves of two of the famous Sahabi of the Prophet. One is called Sa'ad ibn Ma'ad and another called Abi Sa'id al-Khudri. Both outstanding, companions of the Prophet. We respect them also. They were good companions of the Prophet. Sa'ad ibn Ma'ad attained martyrdom in the battle after Khaybar, and he was buried here. But who else is importantly buried here as well is Ismail, the son of Imam al-Sadiq. Now his story is very fascinating because his grave is, when we entered the gate, his grave was just outside the gate. Before, in the early 80s, anyone who's come here, this Baqi' didn't look like this. Didn't have these roads. These are all graves, by the way. We're walking on graves at the moment. So they had to, make these roads on graves. His grave was outside Baqi'. His body was brought here, placed here, in this square. So at the time when they made the expansion of the Holy Mosque in the late 80s, they also did this Jannatul Baqi wall. As you can see, this wall is from the 80s. And they renovated it and so on and made this coming up, this entrance. It's all done in the 80s, 70s. This doesn't exist. Early 80s didn't exist. So obviously the grave of Ismail was just outside when we entered. So they took the grave, and ulama from our school, Madhab of Ahl al-Bayt, they saw the body of Ismail. I came to know a number who went to Iran and said, we saw the body of Ismail, son of Imam al-Sadiq. Now it's been over 1,000 years. His body was still intact. This is not surprising. Hur, we know many others. Yes, shuhada, but also ulama, also people. Why? Allah commands that their body is not touched by the worms or they are not decayed. It is not impossible. It's by the permission of Allah. I mean, it's interesting to have a look at it when we're inside here. I will talk about this in a minute. Okay, so I'll show you this. Images of how Jannatul Baqi used to look like. Okay, so let me go back to this now and explain to you one thing. This is the Jannatul Baqi. So this is the shrine of the Imams here, the wives of the Prophet. We are just standing here. 8 and 9. Okay, Halima al-Sa'diyah and Uthman ibn Mad'un. So we were where we are now. This is, can you see? I had these domes here. The Imams alayhim salam dome was. This is the Imams, the 4 Imams. As you enter. This is a real picture, not a drawn picture, okay? This is how this used to look. This one is called Baytul Ahzam. Baytul Ahzam is a house built by Imam Ali alayhi salam for Sayyida Fatima alayhi salam to weep and cry after the loss of her father. This was also destroyed. This is a picture taken early before 1925. This was built by the Ottomans. Can everyone see it? Over there next to the cones, there is an area where there's the aunties of the Prophet, Atika and Safiya. They were aunties of the Prophet. Some people believe that al-Banin is buried there, but I didn't find evidence. She's somewhere here, but we don't know for sure. But many people believe she's buried there. It's just the people's belief. So we pay respects for her there in that corner.